You know what nobody tells you when you finally start saving money? That saving alone is actually one of the slowest paths to building wealth in America. Not spending recklessly, not ignoring your finances, saving. And the worst part, the financial system is completely designed to keep you comfortable right there in that savings account, collecting almost nothing while your money slowly loses purchasing power to inflation. Today, we're breaking that cycle. Meet someone we'll call Marcus, 28 years old, living in Dallas, Texas, works in logistics, makes about $58,000 a year. Marcus did everything he was told to do. He cut back on eating out, he canceled 2 streaming subscriptions, he stopped impulse buying on Amazon at midnight, and over 3 years he built up $14,000 sitting in a Chase savings account. He was proud of that number. He should have been. That kind of discipline is genuinely rare. But here's where it got uncomfortable for Marcus. He logged into his banking app one afternoon and noticed his interest earned for the entire year, $42 on $14,000. He thought the app was glitching. It wasn't. His account was paying 0.3% interest, which after inflation running at around 3.5% that year, meant his money wasn't just stagnating, it was quietly shrinking in real value every single month, while he thought he was winning. This is the trap that millions of Americans are sitting inside right now and don't even know it. They think saving is the destination. It's not. It's the launch pad, and if you never leave the launch pad, you never go anywhere. Stop for a second, because this next part will genuinely change the way you see money. Let's take Marcus's $14,000 and run 2 parallel timelines. In timeline 1, it stays in that savings account at 0.3%. In timeline 2, it gets invested into a broad market index fund averaging 9% annually, which is actually below the S&P 500's historical average when you account for dividends. After 30 years, Timeline 1 gives Marcus roughly $15,300. He barely moved. Timeline 2, just over $185,000. Same starting amount, same person, completely different outcome based entirely on one decision made in his late 20s. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between retiring with dignity and working into your 70s because the math never got a chance to work for you. So how do you actually make the move? Not theoretically, not someday, right now. Here's the framework, broken into 4 distinct stages. Stage 1 is building what we call your financial floor. Before a single dollar gets invested, you need 3 to 6 months of actual living expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account, not a traditional bank account. If your monthly expenses are $3,200, that means $9,600 to $19,200 parked somewhere liquid and safe. Places like Marcus Invest, Ally, or SoFi currently offer savings rates between 4 and 5%, which is a completely different world from what most big banks are giving you. This step is non-negotiable because the number one reason people sell their investments at a loss is not market crashes. It's life. A medical bill, a layoff, a car that needs a new transmission at the worst possible time. Your emergency fund protects your investment from your circumstances. Stage 2 is separating your money into 2 psychological containers, not just 2 accounts, 2 completely different mental frameworks. Container 1 is your stability money. It doesn't grow aggressively, it doesn't need to. Its only job is to be there when you need it. Container 2 is your growth money. This money has one mission, and that mission plays out over years and decades, not weeks. The moment you start blurring these 2 containers is the moment you start making emotional decisions with money that was never supposed to be touched. Stage 3 is starting before you feel ready. This is the part most people get wrong. They wait until they have a bigger number. They wait until the market feels less uncertain.
They wait until they understand everything. But here's what we know from decades of market data. Time in the market consistently beats timing the market. If Marcus had started investing just $200 a month at age 25 into a low-cost index fund, by the time he hit 60 at a 9% average annual return, he'd be sitting on roughly $765,000. That same $200 a month starting at age 35 produces about $304,000. Same behavior. 10 years earlier, The difference is $461,000. Waiting is expensive. It's just expensive in a way you can't see yet. Here's a belief that's costing people real money. The idea that you need to pick the right stocks to build wealth. You don't. And this isn't just an opinion. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor alive, has publicly and repeatedly stated that most Americans would be better off putting their money into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund and leaving it alone than trying to beat the market. Not because people aren't smart, because the market is extraordinarily difficult to consistently beat, even for professionals. Roughly 90% of actively managed funds underperform the index over a 20-year period. The boring, diversified, hands-off approach wins most of the time, and it's the most accessible strategy in the world. Stage 4 is the one nobody talks about, staying invested when everything in your brain is telling you to pull out. Because here's the reality of investing in America. The market will drop. Multiple times over your investment lifetime, it will drop significantly. In 2020, the S&P 500 fell 34% in 33 days. If Marcus had started investing in January of that year, by March he would have watched a third of his portfolio disappear on paper. That is genuinely terrifying if you don't understand what's actually happening. Here's what's actually happening. When markets drop and you keep investing your $200 or $300 a month, you are buying more shares at lower prices. You're not losing, you're accumulating. It's the financial equivalent of your favorite store running a 30% off sale and you leaving without buying anything because the sale made you nervous. The people who quietly kept buying in March of 2020 were rewarded with one of the fastest market recoveries in history. The people who sold locked in their losses permanently. Volatility is not the enemy. Panic is the enemy. And the antidote to panic is understanding exactly what your money is doing and why. So let's pull this together, because this is the actual path from saving to investing, and it's simpler than the financial industry wants you to believe. Build your financial floor first, 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield account. Separate your stability money from your growth money mentally and structurally. Start investing before you feel completely ready, because you never fully will. Keep it simple with broad, diversified, low-cost index funds. And then, this is the hardest part, leave it alone and let compounding do the work that no savings account ever could. Marcus, by the way, did eventually make the shift. He moved $8,000 of his savings into a Roth IRA invested in a total market index fund. He kept $6,000 as his emergency fund in a high-yield account. He set up an automatic $250 monthly contribution so he never had to make the decision twice. That's it. No stock picks, no market timing, no financial advisor charging him 1% of his portfolio annually to do what he could do himself in 20 minutes. The gap between savers and investors in this country isn't about income, it's about understanding. And once you have the understanding, the behavior change becomes almost obvious. If this breakdown hit differently and you want to keep understanding money the way they never taught you in school, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We decode the psychology, the systems, and the real mechanics behind wealth, so you stop reacting to your finances and start understanding them, one video at a time. See you in the next one.